And the McCluskey word of the week is amygdala.
There you go. Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast. We are just four guys who are crazy about our lives. We love our kids, and we want to kill it in business. And this show is all about that. How do you be intentional with those ever-important domains? I am here with my good friends, Chris McCluskey, Jamie Slingerland, and Michael McGreevy is not here today. He is sitting this one out, shall we say.
He's been coronated. He's actually on the throne right now, right?
He is definitely sitting this one out. Yeah.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Got some kind of a bug last night with his wife, and they are spending most of their day in the bathroom. So, Michael, we feel for you. Hope it all goes well.
Yeah, get better soon, McGreevy. We need you back here.
No doubt, man.
Well, you guys were just together in person here recently. Tell me about that.
I've seen both of you guys this week. It's been crazy. Niemeyer, you're at my house. I drove right from McCluskey's farm back to Franklin, Tennessee, and you were there.
That's
at
true.
My house. It's kind of weird.
You can't get rid of us, Jamie.
Last week, we drove to Rolla, and we had dinner at a Mexican restaurant, and then we saw McCluskey and his family in an awesome show. They were doing the Newsies. McCluskey was on the stage method acting as a villain. He was actually a mean character, if you can believe that.
That doesn't seem to fit you, but I'm sure you slayed it and did it well.
It's an awful lot of fun. Yeah, I was a bad guy in this particular show. We do a lot of musical theater as the McCluskeys. We've got an amazing blessing here. Just to the town north of us, Rolla, Missouri, has a group called Fine Linen Theater. It's a Christian-based theater company, but they just do family-friendly theater. There's messages in there, but they're not being overtly Christian in their message. And so they do all kinds of stuff, and Newsies had just come off of Broadway and was available. They always do big kind of productions. And so, yeah, we're doing a 2-week run of Newsies. It packs out the theater, and it was really cool having Jamie and Ruthie and all 4 kids come out here. You guys buzzed in Saturday night after dinner. I didn't see you until the show was over. And then we had all day Sunday together, and then poof, you guys were off on Monday, but it was really, really fun.
I don't think you guys even know this, but I was in 2 musicals in high school, and I was kind of reminiscing, McCluskey, when the curtain went down and you guys were all out on the stage. I just remembered how much of a sense of community and rapport that all my friends and all the people in the musicals that I did, and that's incredible that you get to share in that experience with your kids. I can't even imagine how that must feel for you to do that with your kids.
It is. It's amazing. The theme for today is all about this, doing life with our kids. And so musical theater happens to be one of the things that we do as family. But I wouldn't be doing this much fun as it is if my kids weren't doing it. But because my kids had interest in it, you bet. Sign me up. I'm there. Whether I knew how to act or sing or dance or anything else or not, my kids are in it. I want to be in it with them. And over the last about 15 years, I've lost track of how many shows I've done.
A plethora of shows.
Yeah. Yes, you would say a plethora of shows.
I do not think what you think it means. Well,
yeah, what is a plethora? Right? This show, my son Drew is in it, who is 20. My son Braden, who's 14, and my daughter Grace, who's 22. They're all Newsies. And our daughter Sarah was the props master backstage with the stage manager and all. So 4 of the kids are in this, tons of hours of rehearsal, just incredible eye-popping kind of scenery building and the costuming and the choreography. What a blast. And like you said, totally community.
In the mastermind group with Dan Miller, some people have questioned the fact of, is McCluskey really a 7? Because you bring your business face to the meetings. Here, you were just one of the kids being crazy and wild with all your kids. So that was a different side of you that not a lot of people see. And it was really a lot of fun to see that.
Well, thanks. And it's actually, I would say it's the best of me. Yes, I have a business side and I definitely think business. I am totally a 7, totally about adventure. One of the funnest things in the entire show for me is the fight scene. There's a hugely choreographed fight scene where the entire stage is the strike busters coming in to bust up the news kids' strike. And I'm swinging a big mallet. I look like Mario from the video game, but I'm swinging a mallet and beating up on my kids, and we're just howling. I don't think there's too many 55-year-old guys that'd be jumping around on a stage doing stuff like that. It's just so
and
much
it's been
fun.
dangerous too, right?
Yeah, I thought Mike Tyson got your ear or something like that. What happened?
I did. I got injured, yes. And of course, the show must go on. But about an 8-foot piece of scenery, one of the big props, lost its footing and came tumbling down, crashed on the side of my head. I got a slight concussion, smacked my ear real bad and cut it open and knocked me to the ground, stunned me. I couldn't do the next scene, but
doing life with your kids is important and can be dangerous. but I love this because I enjoyed seeing all the pictures and the videos you post on Facebook about it, seeing your kids involved in this and you rolling up your sleeves and being part of that. It's so important to do life with your kids. And that's what we want to talk about and explore today. And Chris, I know you guys have been at this for months too. It's been months of practices and then rehearsals and dress rehearsals, and you're driving to and from with all your kids, getting to have that windshield time in front of the car with them just to say, hey, this is life. Let's talk about why is doing life with your kids so important?
It really is a tremendous amount of windshield time. In fact, that's a good way to describe part of what the value of this is. It's shared experiences. Yeah, that's really cool. And those are great memories. But the drive time back and forth to events, the time sitting around on breaks, whether it's sports or whatever else it might be that you're doing with your kids, the kinds of conversations, the things that you laugh over, the things that come up even from conversations that you had to be there when their friends are around as well, that's so much of where real life, not just some kind of a quick response to our questions that we pepper our kids with when they come through the door at the end of the day if we haven't been with them during the day. Instead, when you're in the thick of whatever they're doing, real life comes up, then you get a chance to be an influence, a shaping voice. You become aware of things that they might be struggling with, of dynamics that are going on that you wouldn't have even caught had you not been there to observe them across the room with the kids or whatever. Chris, you got to talk about what you did just this morning, because it's the same kind of thing on a much smaller scale, but it's day in, day out interaction with the kids.
Yeah, that's funny because we always talk about what are we going to record this week. And so we chose this episode title and subject a couple of days ago. This morning, we're talking about doing life, just everyday life with our kids. My kids typically sleep in. I get up an hour or two earlier than them. Well, this morning, they woke up before me. So I'm out there. They're already having breakfast at 5:55 in the morning, which is very unusual. And I said, you know what? Dad's going to go on a little jog. You guys want to come along, hop on your bikes? And they said, sure. Like their eyes got big. Yeah, we'd love to. Because they know that I do that in the morning when they're all still sleeping. So we just had this great time of getting to jog along this trail. They're biking with me. And just like you said, Chris, the life happens there because our guards are down a little bit. We just talk about stuff. We ask questions. We're exploring and we're being more creative. And that's just a simple thing of exercise that we can engage our kids in to a greater degree to have those kind of important conversations.
It's so valuable. I was thinking about the passage when Jamie and Ruthie were here and we were doing so much life together, like jamming in our living room on the musical instruments and singing and all, four-wheeling out on the farm together. We did so much family stuff. Deuteronomy 6:7 is the passage that comes to mind because most every Christian is familiar with it. It's about the importance for us as parents of instilling in our children the faith, which is much more than just a list of rules and do's and don'ts. It is a whole worldview, a way of living and being and doing life. And that happens mostly when we're doing life with our kids. The passage says, repeat these things again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, and when you're getting up, like you just said, getting up in the morning. Jamie, when you guys were driving back, you and Ruthie with the kids in the car, did you have did you have the soundtrack or something? You guys were singing some of the songs from the show, right?
We did. Yeah, we caught the bug like McGreevy, but in a different way. We caught the Newsies bug. That's what we do as a family when we're in the car. We sing and enjoy ourselves, and we got to riff off of what you were doing, McCluskey, with the Newsies. So that's the soundtrack that's playing in our house this week.
I love that. Well, and that's just it. It's the reason why we do this, to do this life with our kids, is we're deepening that connection with them. You guys got to bond around watching the McCluskey family participate in this show, and then you're having the soundtrack, and just brings back the memories of all that you guys got to participate in together. You weren't just observing; now you were part of this whole experience. Jamie, I know that you also get involved with your kids in ways. You know, Diego got super into drones a while back, and you got to engage with him in that. Talk a little bit about what does this look like for you doing life with your kids?
It's just being interested in what our kids care about. I'm the same as you guys, where I'm so futuristic. Sometimes I struggle remembering what it was like as a child. Our kids are so passionate about things. And when Diego crashed that drone, we couldn't find anywhere near here in Franklin that we could replace that. And so we had to drive all the way on the other side of town. I think it was like an hour away. That was a pretty special moment where we just share life because we were doing something together. It was all around that drone because it had broken. It created a memory that we'll never forget because we spent several hours together that day. And we were picking up the pieces of something that could have really messed up our relationship because it was like a $500 item. It was a side benefit that we got to spend all that time together. And now we have a story that we'll never forget.
I know. Chris, what you might not know is that Jamie's son, Diego, brought that drone out here on the farm. You've been here to the farm. So he actually took it out with my kids, and they were doing all kinds of drone video of the farm. It's got some kind of a feature where if you cue it to your cell phone, you can just set the cell phone on the seat beside you on the four-wheel, like a side-by-side four-wheeler, and they were driving along the trails, and the thing was up at a certain height above the trees, and it was tracking them. Like they don't have to control it with a hand controller. It was really cool.
Big Brother's following you.
I loved that you did handle that, Jamie, the way that you did, and that you and Diego together learned how to use the thing. And here he is coming out here for another shared experience with you and sharing it with our family. It's just another example of doing life together as families. All the meals that we shared together as families. So many times you hear, like we Westerners, the family dining room is the back seats of the minivan because people are always just running around shuttling their kids off to places. Yeah, they're together, but they're not necessarily involved with the stuff in their kids. They're just like the taxi service, and they're not sitting around a table together. We do a ton of shared meals together around tables, or like in our kitchen there, around that island in the kitchen where everybody just pulls up a stool and sits and talks. And Chris, you coach some of your kids, is it soccer, right? I mean, you're not just driving them and dropping them off for somebody else. You're there in the thick of it with them.
Yes, yeah. I am the guy who would much rather turn the TV off and go play a sport than just sit and watch it. And that's how both Alicia and I actually have approached our kids' sports. We want to find ways to get involved. And so it's signing up to be the coach or volunteering to be the assistant or the team mom. And I love getting to sweat next to my kids. I mean, it's just kind of fun to be able to do these things, come alongside them, roll up your sleeves and participate. I mean, there's so many, unfortunately, dads and spouses that, like you said earlier, they drop the kids off at a thing and they're going to go do their own thing, or the dads maybe show up at the end and they're still in their work attire. They don't have the time to invest or the motivation to invest in that child. So I love that. I love being able to just participate and being involved.
When I think of that question, why is this important? Being back from the McCluskey farm this past week, like what would be different in the McCluskey family if everybody was just going and doing their own thing based on each kid's own interests? Drew's going to a voice lesson in St. Louis and another kid's going to like the bowling team. The fact that the family is all doing something together, a musical is a really great thing that anybody can get involved in. Like Sarah's a really good example. There's a role for everybody in this. And you guys have carved out a season of your life where you're all doing something together. And what happens is that a family builds their own culture. And with the Slingerlands, like we're similar to the Niemeyers. Like we love the sport of baseball. And so we've gone to a bunch of major league games as a family together. And then we share those experiences together, all of us. And then our family's sort of known for something. And in the same vein, McCluskey, you were talking about how like the Slingerlands are good with music and we have instruments. Like you're looking at the guitars on my wall. There's this tendency for us to spread ourselves too thin with what we focus on as a family. And then we're sort of not known as anything because our kids just do everything. And then we're shuffling them all around instead of being, we just got to sort of pick what we're going to do because that's hard for a 7 too, right? Because life is a big buffet. And we got to sort of say, if we're going to do things together, we have to sort of decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, I love that, Jamie. Those are all good examples from the dining and the music and the sports. But one thing that you're doing is you're engaging the kids at a level where they feel comfortable. The guard is down, so to speak, where they're able to think more creatively and ask more questions and just have those deepening conversations. Again, that's why we're talking about this, is it deepens conversations. I'm thinking about my own childhood and all that sports and coaching, all that stuff that happened. It's so much more engaging to talk with a coach and to open up with a coach than it is to say, shuffle your feet to the principal's office and have that awkward conversation. Ugh. Chris, talk about this from like even just a physiological, psychological way of how we engage in conversations and safety when we're in an environment that is comfortable to us.
I like that example, Chris, because that puts it immediately. Like we can picture ourselves talking with the coach, and then the thought of shuffling down to the principal's office, like, no, I don't want to go there for anything. But that's a great example of what this does with regard to brain science. When we are in a state of activity, shared activity with somebody that's fun and engaging, you mentioned it puts us into our creative space. That's the upper part of the brain where our best thinking and creativity is housed. It's called the neocortex, and that's where all kinds of possibilities and out-of-the-box thinking, creativity occurs. But we don't process experiences and information there first, nor ever even primarily. We process it first through a part of the brain called the amygdala, the inner part of the brain, more of a core-like part, that first assesses safety. Is this a safe environment? Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Am I going to get scolded? Is it going to be okay if I open up honestly about X, Y, or Z? Do my parents know about this or that? All of us first automatically, you cannot not process through the amygdala first. It's the way God built us to always assess safety. If we determine in the amygdala fairly quickly, hey, I'm safe, it's good, this is a great environment, whoosh, all the rest of the processing jumps up to the neocortex, and we're engaged, we're laughing, we're thinking of all kinds of possibilities, and we're just incredibly open in relationship. We are generally closed and guarded in relationship if most of our processing stays stuck in the amygdala, because we're saying, like we would be in the principal's office, or like we as parents sometimes can easily put our kids, if we're not doing life with them, but we sit them down to have a talk because, hey, I want to be a good parent. I want to shape my kid. I want to be sure and have the talk with them about whatever. That puts them into a defended, guarded posture. They're going to interact with us in the amygdala. They're going to give us short answers. Yes, no, yeah, whatever. They got shields are up because we're not engaging with them in doing life together. We're basically talking to them, even talking at them. Completely different receptivity on the part of the kid to the messages that we're wanting to pour into them.
Yeah, Chris, that changes everything when you have those deposits. So we've talked about it on other podcasts, right, McCluskey, about dating our wives and dating our children. We put those deposits.
Yes.
And so there's never going to be one talk that's going to be a knockdown drag out if we have good relationships with them. We're going to be doing a lot of cool things with our kids and as a family together. I mean, it was really cool to see the McCluskeys just living life together and all being involved in that musical. And then I see the McGreevies doing it now with their, I don't know if their audience knows, but they just bought that Fixer Upper and they're doing the Chip and Joanna thing over there in Buffalo, but they're doing it together. They have these videos on Instagram of the kids leading the tour. And
yeah,
awesome.
They're going to give Gunnar a hammer here soon. Just tell him to start a demo, you know?
So good.
I mean, seriously, we got to encourage our listeners. Follow that. If you don't, follow the McGreevies. What's it called? The McGreevy Makeover or something, right? Hashtag McGreevy Makeover.
So. Yeah.
Right? on Instagram, they're putting up videos of like this big family project that they're doing together. And their kids are peanuts. They're little kids. But they're there in the thick of it with them. This isn't just dad's thing or mom's thing. This is our thing. Game changer.
Yeah, it just leads to the deepening that we talked about. That's the why, right? Why is it so important for us to have this connection with our kids? Because 30 years from now, we'll be involved in, if our kids are doing a flip like Gunnar, he'll be like, have his papa, Michael, will be there doing it with him because of those deposits they've had in the relationships. That's one of the reasons why I love being a part of this podcast and being in fellowship with you guys. I just see other guys going after the deepening of the relationship with their children, and it's cool. In a culture of people being really, really busy with good intentions, I know people's hearts are to have that deepening in the relationship, but it won't happen unless we continue to look at each other and really adopt that philosophy.
Yeah, and getting to participate in what they are interested in too. So if you have one kid that really is interested in something that you don't have that background in, get your butt off the stage or off the seat, off the stands, whatever, and get involved, get engaged with them, because that's where the deepening of the connection will happen. And just like, each of us take our kids on dates, that windshield time that we get to spend with them and letting them choose what that date activity might be. I know just with my kids recently, they're asking questions as we're heading to do go-karts, with my 10-year-old. Jesse's asking questions. Dad, what did you like to do when you were 10? Like, what were some of the things that you really enjoyed doing? And those conversations just keep on going. So I love this. There's so many ways we can apply this. And I think we're going to actually do part 2 of this next week. The why is covered here. Let's talk about the how next week and how you can roll up your sleeves and do this, what that could look like, what that's looked like for each of us. But I want to ask, what about you? How has this resonated with you in getting engaged with your kids and doing life with them? What areas do you want to come alongside them and participate more in? Just adopt this philosophy that when you do this, deepening of connection will happen. Do life with your kids.